Now that we have an idea of the number of attempts, let's see how do we attempt these many questions. Let's see the strategy of taking the paper. So if I look at the average number of questions, just for clearing the sectional cutoffs, 27 by 2, 13 and a half, and 12 and a half, that is 26, 26 and 13, 39. Just in ensuring that I clear the sectional cutoffs, I end up doing on an average 39 questions attempting. But to receive a interview call, overall I need to do, let's say the average is 47. 39 I've already done, I have to do 47. So these, and I have to do 8 more questions. So where am I going to get these 8 questions? Sectional cutoff you have to clear, no choice. But do you have a choice in this? Yes, and that is where strategy comes into play. And my clear suggestion is, in QA, just clear cutoff. Do not try to get these extra 8. Okay, and these extra 8, try to get them from verbal and DM. Now this is almost a prescription, and here I am saying this is true for everyone. Even if you count quant as your strength, I would still say don't try to maximize your score here. I'm writing it, don't try to maximize. Okay, and in fact spend all your time, try to maximize your score in verbal and decision making. What is this maximizing and so on? So here it becomes important for us to understand that XAT allows you the freedom to spend time whichever way you want. And this is a huge advantage if you can use it well. Okay, unlike CAT, in CAT, you are restricted, you are constrained to spend the 40 minutes in this section only, whether that section is your strength or weakness. So you can't move to another one. So the only thing that you can do is maximize your score in each and every section. However, in XAT, you are free to move. So why should everyone has a comparative advantage in one of the section vis-a-vis the other section. Okay, and so why should I spend proportionate time in all the 3 sections when I'm free to choose? That is what I said. Use the freedom to spend time the way you want to your fullest advantage. Okay, and that fullest advantage for everyone, students, is to try to maximize the score, spend more time here, and in QA just clear the cutoff, even if QA is your strength. Okay, so this is how I would look at overall. Now for the rationale, why should I be focusing more on DM and verbal rather than QA? And the answer lies in looking at how the QA section has been in the past. I had done a detailed breakup of the last 4 years XAT, 17, 18, 19, 20, into different level of difficulties of question, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 level of difficulties. I wanted to present the table, but when I made that table, I was pretty scared. Looking at it, I'm pretty sure a lot of students would be demotivated. So suffice to just say that sitter questions that can be done like this, and also easy to identify. They are very easy to solve, but you should also be able to identify those questions where only 1 or 2 in every paper. That's it. So if I scan the full paper in CAT, where I can get almost 4 or 5 such questions, in XAT I'll not get more than 2 such questions. Okay, there are other easy questions There are other easy questions, but they are very, very difficult to identify. This observation, students, identify that I'm talking. I'm going to spend a lot of time on this now. But before that, these questions were as few as 5 to 6. So in all, they are just 8 in numbers, easy questions. Okay, and all the rest of questions, look at these words, they require a lot of courage to attempt them. So these questions, once you read them, it will never be clear, should I do it, should I not do it? It will always be tough call. Okay, and not just that, it will require good nerves of steel. Yeah, you need to be very calm and composed to finish the questions. The questions are going to go, the solution is going to be a little, you need to use all your skills, all your knowledge. There are twists and turns in the solution, and you really need to be very, very confident of yourself to take up solving that question and solve them. And that identity, why does this happen, students? It was almost all of us used to think that XAT questions are far more lengthier. They have far more data than CAT questions. So to confirm that, we counted the number of words used in the questions for CAT and XAT. And what is found is, for XAT, on an average, you have 83 words per question. Versus if you look at CAT QA, and this is only about QA, so let me put that also, CAT. If I look at CAT QA, it is only 42 words per question. So look at the stark difference for the same in same quant. A XAT questions on an average are twice as lengthier as CAT questions are. So not only do they take a lot more time to read, but then because they're more, the data also gets a little more complex. Yeah, it's given in a very roundabout way. Nothing is given straightforward. And to give this in a more better perspective, in a typical A4 sheet of paper, in your regular font size of 10, 11, 12, one line holds 15 to 16 words. So this means 5 lines every question. On an average, that question is made up of 5 lines. So therefore, I'm using these words continuously. So I think CAT XAT QA is decently tough. And if this doesn't scare you enough, let me also come to topics. The topics in XAT. XAT can have questions from any topic. Okay, so there is nothing that XAT has not experimented with. So for example, CAT has very rarely given questions on probability. You all know that. Now a lot of people suggest that for XAT, steady probability it's important. I'll come to it in a moment, right? But I'm just saying probability, trigonometry, coordinate, installments, you name it, and XAT has sometimes or the other given questions on it. So remember, questions can be from any topic, and what is more interesting is there is not more than one question from a topic. So obviously I'm not counting entire algebra as a topic, but functions, there would not be more than one questions on functions. Okay, in CAT you have seen quite often that almost 3-4 questions you can get on functions or the same, right? Here that doesn't happen. So coming back to that probability, because of this fact, I don't really see any advantage in doing probability. There would just be one question, if at all there is. At first it's not certain. If it is there, it's just one. So how does one question give you any advantage? I fail to understand that if there's one. So let's go ahead and level of questions. Again, it could be any level. including very difficult ones also. So even if there is a probability question, and what if the question turns out to be a very difficult one? So you have spent a lot of time studying probability, and suddenly it's of not much use in your exam because the question was in berserk, totally out of the world. And XAT has surprised us with the kind of difficult questions it has asked. I don't want to give XAT questions because I want you to practice XAT mocks on your own. But as an example, some common puzzle, like there's a question which says stick breaks into 3 pieces randomly. What is the probability that a triangle can be formed at it? So these are types. So probability question linked with a geometry theory, anything could happen there. Right? So I don't think so you can bank on any of them. Coordinate geometry, look at a few questions that have come in the past of coordinate geometry, last year questions. They are very tough to solve, very time consuming. You have to solve simultaneous equations where the coefficients themselves are given in variables. Okay, so do that, you'll realize what I want to say, right, of this. So what else here? So also one more, DI. Now DI here is very unpredictable, right? When I say unpredictable, what I mean is one, the numbers are not fixed, so it could be anything from 4-5 questions to 7-8 questions, 2 sets, 3 sets, and there has been certain graphs or years where the graph that you get is incomprehensible. You get a bouncer. Like this one year, there was this graph which had 7 different variables which were correlated, and there was histograms given, and they did not explain what an histogram is, and they said which of this variable has 2 modes, mode as in that statistics part, modes, right? And then they had correlation, they had correlation coefficients given, but they did not use this word, they just used the word relation without explaining. So I am saying that was enough to put off any student. That said, overall might not be difficult, but just seeing that graphs, they were all regression lines fitted into a scatter plot, that is enough to demotivate a student, or he'll not touch it also. So it's very unpredictable, students, right? So because of all these facts, I don't think so that one should be banking too much on quant. So when I start a test or so on, I would start definitely the test with an idea or a strategy of that my maximum, at least preparing in these 5, 6, 4 weeks that I have for that, I would prepare more time on verbal or DM, because that's going to be far more productive than QA. Right? No point spending more time. Obviously, there's no such topic which you can master in 2 or 3 weeks. So if I don't know trigonometry, I would suggest just leave the trigonometry, because the question is also going to be, trigonometry is again a vast field, no? How much can you build a competence in 3 weeks? I don't think so that's a good choice, right? So what should you be doing in the 4 weeks for quant? Only thing is practice questions from XAT actual papers that have come in the past. You will get to know the difficulty level. You will have some good idea, familiarity with how to solve them, and that's about it. Don't need to do anything else in quant, students.